Scary True Stories TV.
Ho, ho, ho! I still remember that night as if it were burned into my memory. The clock struck midnight, and with it came a force so overwhelming that it shattered every belief I held about safety and reason. I was alone in the house that my family had called home for generations, a house that held secrets too dark for daylight. This was the hour when the curse awakened, when the shadows became alive, and when every creak in the floor whispered a tale of doom. Can you imagine the terror of witnessing such a force from the very depth of your soul? I had grown up listening to the haunted legends of the Blackwood family curse. For as long as I could remember, elders spoke of a witch who had, centuries ago, cast a spell over our bloodline. They said the curse was a double-edged sword, a terrible burden that demanded sacrifice and left its mark every midnight. I never truly believed the old stories until that fateful evening. That was the moment I realized that some curses are more real and more terrifying than anyone could ever imagine. It began on a windy autumn night. The chill in the air was different from any other. It carried whispers of the past, and those whispers soon turned into echoes that filled every corner of the old house. I sat in the dim light of my attic room, reading faded journals that recounted the life of my ancestors. Their words painted a picture of sorrow, fear, and relentless darkness. As I turned a brittle page, the winds outside picked up, and a low moan reverberated through the walls. Was this the curse calling out to me? Or was it merely the wind playing its tricks? The sound of footsteps in the corridor sent shivers down my spine. I slowly rose from my chair and moved towards the door, every step filled with hesitant dread. With a trembling hand, I pushed the creaky door open, and there, in the cold silence of the hallway, I saw something that no rational mind could ever explain. A fleeting shadow passed by, too large to be a mere trick of light, too deliberate to be an animal. Could it be the witch herself, returning to claim another soul? I remember the fear as clearly as if it happened only moments ago. My heart pounded so hard I feared it would shatter my chest. The house seemed to breathe, each room echoing with the sorrow of all the lost souls cursed by the witch's dark magic. I walked through the corridors, drawn by the sound of a soft melody that seemed to emanate from the very walls, a haunting lullaby from another time. The tune was gentle yet eerie, inviting but dangerous. How could something so beautiful hide such terror? In the living room, the air grew thicker and the shadows deeper. Furniture seemed to shift in the corners of my eyes, and every mirror reflected not just my terrified face, but fragments of a past that refused to be forgotten. I recalled stories passed down by my grandmother about guests who had dared to spend a night in our home. They spoke of cold hands brushing against them, of doors that closed on their own, and of voices that beckoned them into the darkness. Could it be that the witch's curse was still at work, determined to forever bind our family to this endless night? As I moved further into the heart of the house, I stumbled upon the old portrait gallery, where ancestors long gone stared down with eyes full of warning and despair. Their painted faces seemed to come alive under the moon's haunting glow, and I felt a cold breath on my neck. It was as if I had crossed a threshold into a realm where time no longer existed, a place where the curse reigned supreme. What did they want from me? Was it forgiveness, or was it vengeance? In the garden outside, the withered trees and overgrown weeds told the story of neglect and loss. The ground, once carefully tended, now lay in disarray as if nature itself was recoiling from the curse that plagued the land. I stepped outside, and the night air wrapped around me like a cloak of despair. Every rustling leaf and every whisper of the wind seemed to murmur secrets of ancient rites and forbidden magic. How could a single family be so entangled in the web of a curse that even nature itself would mourn? That night, under the eerie light of a full moon, I encountered the true face of the witching hour. As the clock neared 1, the silence broke with the sound of a distant chant. I followed the sound, my steps unbidden, yet compelled by a force beyond control. In the basement, I found an old, dusty room that I had never seen before in all my years in that house. There lay an ancient mirror, its surface obscured by layers of grime and neglect. Yet it shimmered with a light that defied reason. Was it a portal to another time? Or was it simply a relic of the curse, holding within its glass the memories of all who suffered before me? I dared to look into the mirror, and in that moment, I saw not my own reflection, but a vision of the past. A dark, spectral presence cloaked in black robes with eyes that burned like embers. The figure of the witch stared back at me, her face twisted in sorrow and fury. In that silent moment, the room seemed to vibrate with the weight of centuries of pain. How could such an image be both heartbreaking and terrifying? What did she want from me, and from my family who carried her curse like a burden too heavy to bear? Suddenly, the vision shattered, and I was left alone with a pounding heart and a mind swirling with unanswered questions. Every step back to the safety of the upstairs corridor felt like an eternity. The house was no longer a place of refuge, but a prison, where the past and the present collided in a cacophony of despair and dread. In the days that followed, my nights became a blur of terror. I could no longer trust the silence, nor the creaks and whispers that had become familiar yet unwelcoming. The cursed energy of the house seemed to seep into every moment, infecting even the daylight hours with an uneasy foreboding. I tried to share my experience with family and friends, hoping for solace or at least understanding. But all I received were skeptical glances and the dismissal of an overactive imagination. Do you believe in curses that span generations? How do you cope when the very place you call home turns against you? One particularly chilling night, I sat alone once more in the attic, poring over the ancient journals of my ancestors. The writings were filled with a recurring pattern, a detailed account of midnight events, eerie voices and shadows that moved with purpose. Every entry spoke of the witching hour, as if it were an inevitable rite of passage for anyone born into the curse. I felt a strange mix of empathy and terror. I was not just a victim. I was the latest chapter in this dark legacy. Is fate predetermined by blood, or can the grip of a curse be broken? The journals detailed a grim ritual that promised salvation but demanded a sacrifice that no modern mind could ever fathom. According to the writings, the only way to end the curse was to confront the witch at her place of power during the witching hour, to face the full force of the ancient magic and beg for mercy. But as I read those words, a chill ran down my spine. Was it a way out, or a trap designed to pull the family even deeper into despair? The risk was immense, yet the alternative, eternal torment, seemed far worse. That night, I decided to follow the instructions left by those long lost to time. I gathered every scrap of courage I could muster and prepared to confront the entity that had haunted my family for generations. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, I arranged the relics as described in the journals, a collection of old photos, a locket passed down by my mother, and a candle made from the wax of ancient cursed tapers. Every object carried its own story of pain and sacrifice, and as I set them on the floor, I whispered a silent plea for release. The clock struck midnight once again. The room darkened as if swallowed by a void, and the presence of the witch grew almost tangible. In that suffocating silence, the air thick with foreboding, I called out to the darkness. I begged, I cursed, and I asked, why had we been marked by this unyielding curse? What sins of the past demanded such punishment? In that echoing moment, the room trembled, and I felt a force pressing down upon me like the weight of 1,000 sorrows. A soft, sorrowful voice filled the air, and in it was the unmistakable sound of regret. I could not see the figure, but I knew that the witch was speaking, a lament for a past that had spiraled out of control. The voice whispered secrets of lost love, betrayal, and a desperate attempt to break free from the chains of fate. Could it be that the curse was not just a punishment but a cry for help? Was there redemption to be found in the depths of despair? As the vision dissolved and the oppressive energy receded, I was left with more questions than answers. The encounter did not lift the curse, but it did offer a glimpse of the agony that had spanned generations. I now understood that this was not a tale of simple good versus evil, but of deep, unending sorrow that had twisted a once vibrant family into a living nightmare. How can one ever escape the legacy of such profound loss? Since that fateful night, I have dedicated my life to seeking answers, to uncovering whether our fate is sealed by the hands of ancient magic, or if there is hope for breaking the cycle. My journey is not over, and the witching hour still calls with its dark allure every midnight, a reminder that the past is never truly gone. I share my story with you, not only to expose the raw, emotional truth behind the curse, but also to invite you to question your own beliefs about fate, destiny, and the power of curses. If you have ever felt the chill of the unknown, if you have ever faced a shadow that left you questioning everything, then I urge you to join me in exploring these mysteries further. Do you dare to face the truth behind the witch's curse? Will you step into the darkness with an open mind, ready to confront the horrors of the past? The journey ahead is fraught with fear, but it is also the path to understanding the deep emotional wounds that bind us to history. Now, if you found this story as haunting and thought-provoking as I did, please share your thoughts and your own experiences with us. Join the conversation, subscribe for more stories of the unexplained, and help spread the word about the mysteries that lie hidden in our everyday lives. Together, we can uncover the truth behind the curses that haunt us and perhaps finally put the restless spirits to rest. Stay brave and remember, when the clock strikes midnight, the witching hour is not just a time. It is a door to the past and an invitation to face the unknown.